Alright, we are live, ladies and germs, and tonight we're going to be talking about the absolute fucking nonsense that was the 2022 Verizon 200 at the Brickyard, and whatever the fuck that was that we saw today. Evidently NASCAR just can't seem to get a hold of their own fucking rule book, and it just makes the whole thing look like a total fucking clown show. So we're going to be getting into all that. And we also got a lot of news to talk about tonight. So yet another busy night here on the field. So saddle up, lock and load, and let's get this shit done and over with. This is the field. What's happening, ladies and germs? This is the Packer Man, and welcome to tonight's edition of The Fuel, where tonight we are going to be talking about the 2022 Verizon 200 at the Brickyard, which turned into a bit of a fucking shit fest near the end. You know, I was really hoping that the race would have gone green after the second caution, and that way we didn't have to deal with any of this stupid fucking bullshit. But you know, I mean, this is the second week in a row that we're having to deal with stupid, controversial bullshit from NASCAR. I mean, last week we had the whole Hamlin and Kyle Busch getting disqualified deal, which was a total mindfuck, by the way. And now this week you got, you know, drivers who just obviously like driving with their heads up their fucking asses. And then you had this controversial moment at the end on the last green white checkered with Ross Chastain basically saying, fuck that shit, I'm not getting in the middle of that, and taking the access road. And evidently NASCAR didn't think that it would have been as much of an advantage as it turned out to be, because it took them until after the fucking checkered flag to say, yeah, Chastain shouldn't have been up there racing for the win. Well, why didn't you make that fucking decision right when it happened? I mean, I don't know what it is about NASCAR and road courses, but I mean, they couldn't tell the difference between their asshole and a hole in the ground, honestly. I mean, and the sad thing is, it wasn't a terrible race at all. It really wasn't. But here we are once again for the second straight week having to talk about controversial NASCAR officiating bullshit. And whether or not it was the right call, I mean, we can obviously debate about whether or not it was the right call, and obviously people have been. I said to my mother when we were both watching the race, And she was like, and I was like, you know, I was hoping this race would have gone green so that way we wouldn't have had to do this shit. Because it seems like every single time we have a late race restart, particularly on a road course, we get this fucking nonsense, and that's exactly what we got tonight. But then you have people just going 8 wide in a fucking turn 1. I mean, it's just, I mean, it's like the title of this video is. It's a fucking 3-ring circus and NASCAR's the clown. I mean, especially with the whole access road deal. I mean, Bob Pockers tweeted out and he said, you know, watch NASCAR have an access road rule in place for next year. Why didn't they have one in place to begin with? I mean, you know what would have prevented this whole controversy with Ross Chastain at the end of that race? And the whole debate to begin with? You could have had a fucking penalty box along that access road somewhere where you say, hey, you have to stop in this penalty box. If you take the access road and avoid turn 1, you have to do a stop and go in this box right here. You have to come to a complete stop, and once you do, then you can go. Why can't we have that? It would have completely eliminated all this fucking nonsense about the access road and whether or not it was legal and all this other bullshit. You know, it's just so fucking frustrating. Because, you know, you've had races last 2 weeks that while they weren't great, they weren't terrible either. I mean, they were decent races. And all of this shit gets overshadowed by people driving like fucking idiots and controversial bullshit like we saw at the end of this race. Where is it gonna fucking end? Where's it gonna end? I don't know. But I for one, I'm gonna be completely honest here. I'm getting a little sick and tired of having to come on here and talk about controversial bullshit that happened during the race, when really all that I want to do is come on here and talk about, you know, how good, if a race was good, how good the race was. That's what I really want to be talking about. But instead, here we are, right here again, talking about something that was controversial at the end of a race, or after a race, or whatever the fuck the case may be. It gets really, really tiresome. Because, you know, all I want to see is good racing. I mean, I invest, you know, 2, 3, 4 hours of my fucking free time into watching this fucking company. I mean, at least, you know, what they could do is give us, you know, some semblance of a decent race every once in a while. Or, I don't know, maybe not have any fucking officiating blunders. Once again, you could say whether or not the call on Ross Chastain at the end of the day was the right call, but I mean, they shouldn't have put themselves in that position to begin with. And now they look like a bunch of fucking clowns. In fact, this entire field looks like a total fucking clown show. And it's embarrassing. I mean, these are supposed to be considered some of the best drivers in the world, but what I saw today was anything but. It was a fucking embarrassment. But that's my opening rant for this episode. Before we get started with the review, we do have a lot of news to go through, so It's time for some news of the weekend. There's quite a bit to get through, so let's get into it. Alright, so as per the usual, we start with viewership from the previous week. Pocono pulled 2.59 million viewers on the USA Network, and since it was on the USA Network, that's actually not bad for what it is. And Pocono was okay-ish, I suppose, but, you know, it is what it is. It's been about average on the alternate networks so far this year. Of course, we had FS1 in the first half of the season, and now on the NBC collection of networks, you know, you have NBC and USA Network, so there you go. Next up, the reason for the Hamlin and Busch DQ was revealed. Give me 1 second here, let me find it. This was a statement from Joe Gibbs Racing regarding the disqualification. This was from Wally Brown, Director of Competition for Joe Gibbs Racing. In our review of the post-race infractions on the 11 and 18 cars at Pocono, it was discovered that a single piece of clear tape was positioned over each of the lower corners of the front fascia ahead of the left front and right front wheel openings on both of those cars. The added pieces were 2 inches wide and 5.5 inches long with a thickness of 0.012 inches and installed under the wrap. This change in our build process was not properly vetted within our organization, and we recognize it is against NASCAR's rules. We apologize to everyone for this mistake, and we have made changes to our process to ensure that it does not happen again. So it sounds like this was, you know, a engineering issue, but, you know, either way you look at it, it's still, you know, it was still a major infraction. And Joe Gibbs, the day before, said, "We were shocked to learn of the infraction that caused our 2 cars to fail NASCAR's post-race technical inspection. We plan to review every part of the process that led to this situation," and as a result, they decided not to appeal the penalties, which was a little bit surprising at first, because, I mean, when you give up 5 playoff points like they did, and Kyle Busch had to give up a playoff point as well, you would have thought that they would have, you know, appealed the penalty, you know, try to get it overturned, you know, considering what was at stake, but I guess they recognized that they did kind of fuck up. So, there you go. And, so they decided that they are not going to appeal the penalty, and, you know, they had until, I guess, noon Monday to put in the appeal, and they did not do so. So, it was pretty funny that Denny Delivers YouTube was absolutely losing his fucking mind on Twitter because of it. Which was funny, because before that he was talking all kinds of, you know, trash and bullshit, you know, and, you know, he tweeted out, you know, on a post, I guess, had Hamlin talking about the situation with Chastain, and Denny Delivers was like, "You love to see it," you know, basically being a fucking douche. And then when it was learned that Hamlin was disqualified, he absolutely went into fucking meltdown. And then he posted, and this just shows how fucking stupid, you know, a super fan can be. He basically posted pictures of cars from Gen 6 that had tape all over them. It said, "Fuck your tape," and all, or whatever, all this other shit. And it's just like, dude, you're trying to fucking make an argument about tape when, you know, it's a different rule set from a previous generation of car. When they clearly made it known to all the teams, they made it abundantly clear that you're not allowed to have any sort of covering on the front fascia. That was made clear from day one. So I'm sorry that you seem to be fucking blind to the rules, or just plain fucking ignorant, or maybe you're just a complete fucking Nimrod. I don't know. Maybe it's all 3. I mean, he has a YouTube channel that has almost 4,000 subscribers, and, you know, he basically posts meme videos. I mean, look, I've posted meme videos myself. I mean, they're low effort, and they're usually made, you know, to have a comedic value to them. You know, and I've made a few. I think so far I've made 26 total meme videos on my channel. Thing is, it does not make up the whole the heart and soul of my channel, though. Because I've made over 1,000, I've posted over 1,000 videos on my channel over the last 3.5 years. And those 26 meme videos make up a small fraction of my channel. And yet this guy, you know, meme videos is basically his whole channel's makeup. I mean, to me, it's just not good content, you know, to have as the heart and soul of your channel. I mean, it's a funny thing to have every once in a while, but having it as like the main thing of your channel, you know, it's just not good content, honestly. Because it's, you know, there's no much effort that goes into it. I mean, it's fine to have every once in a while just to have a sort of a laugh, but I mean, having it all the fucking time on your channel, I mean, it's just not a good makeup for a channel to have. And somehow he has almost 4,000 subscribers, which I don't understand it. I guess the moral of that story is low effort makes money. I don't know. But anyways, moving on past that shit. Yeah, I agree with Harvick about stage cautions. Wait, what? Me agreeing with Kevin Harvick? How the fuck does that happen? Well, Kevin Harvick was asked about stage cautions from someone. He says, do we need actual stage breaks for full course cautions on road courses? And he says, in my opinion, there should be no stage breaks. I think the stages should be rolling laps, and when the stage ends, and you score points on that lap. But I think that the stages and all the extra cautions, they just take away from the race. I completely and 100% agree with that. We do not need cautions at the end of these stages. Let them roll through, award points accordingly. I mean, how many times have I fucking said that on this show? Ever since they introduced the stage format. I mean, I don't know how many times I've said that on here. Let's get rid of the fucking stage cautions. We don't need them. Let them continue running the race to keep with the natural flow of the race, award points accordingly, and everything is hunky-dory. I mean, what's so fucking difficult about that? So I actually agree with Kevin Harvick in that regard. Next up, big penalty came out this week. Front Row Motorsports was penalized for modifying a single source supplied part, kind of similar to what happened with Brad Keselowski's team earlier this season. So, Front Row Motorsports was issued a deduction of 100 owner points, 100 driver points, and 10 NASCAR playoff points to the number 34 Front Row Motorsports team for modifying a single source supplied part. Crew chief Blake Harris has been fined $100,000 and suspended for the next 4 races. Now, obviously, Front Row has appealed the penalty, and I would imagine that the appeal process will probably go down this week. So, as a result, Blake Harris was allowed to be at Indianapolis this week, crew chiefing for the 34 car, until the appeal is heard. Of course, the likelihood that they get that overturned is very low, but, you know, we'll have to wait and see what happens on that one. A bit of IndyCar news, and this kind of ties into the whole Tyler Reddick going to 2311, you know, in the near future, despite being with a contracted team through 2023. A similar situation was going down in IndyCar with Alex Palou and Chip Ganassi Racing, where Alex Palou was basically saying that, you know, he never gave his permission for Chip Ganassi Racing to pick up his option for 2023, which is the same thing that Richard Childress Racing did with Tyler Reddick, and that Alex Palou wanted to go to McLaren because he wanted to return to Europe, and in particular his home country Spain, to live, since he now has, you know, an IndyCar championship to call his own. Well, Chip Ganassi Racing decided that they were going to file a lawsuit in civil court against Alex Palou. And this was their statement on July the 27th. Alex Palou is under contract with Chip Ganassi Racing through the end of the 2023 season. He is a valued member of our team, and we will continue to support him in chasing wins, podiums, and IndyCar championships. As the result of a competing racing team improperly attempting to contract him, notwithstanding the clear terms of our contract, we are proceeding to legal process pursuant to the contract. So let me get this straight. You say that he is a valued member of your team, and you're supporting him in chasing wins, podiums, and IndyCar championships, and yet you're suing him in civil court. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, what type of corporate response bullshit is this? What makes you think that Alex Palou is going to want to have anything to do with you now after this bullshit, huh? And Alex Palou, I mean, initially said that he was happy being at Chip Ganassi Racing, you know, after all this shit was going down. But now after this, he basically was like, you know, I don't want to be a part of Chip Ganassi Racing anymore. I want to go to McLaren. I mean, I don't know what went on behind the scenes to cause this relationship to deteriorate so rapidly. I mean, think about this. Alex Palou is the fucking defending champion of the IndyCar series with Chip Ganassi Racing. And now they're going through this shit in the middle of his title defense. Like, something had to be going on behind the scenes for this shit to be going down. I don't know, but it's not looking good. And Jeff Gluck put out a post on Twitter on July 28th. He said, "This just doesn't seem like it will end well at all." A statement from Alex Palou's lawyer just hit the inbox after news that Chip Ganassi's lawsuit against Palou came out yesterday. It's from Rachel E. Epstein of Quinn, Emanuel, Urquhart, and Sullivan LLP, which I'm assuming is a law practice. We are disappointed that Chip Ganassi Racing would attempt to keep Alex from an opportunity to compete in Formula One, and even more so with CGR's public court filings and continued commentary to the press on this matter. Alex has consistently given his very best effort to CGR, and it is unfortunate that CGR would attempt to deny Alex this opportunity. We would hope the parties can resolve this amicably, but if not, we look forward to resolving this matter in a private arbitration as CGR has requested. What a fucking mess. What an absolute fucking mess that is. I mean, I don't know what Chip Ganassi's fucking doing, but I mean, he's making himself look like a total fucking clown doing this shit. I mean, if it's obvious that your driver is not happy racing for you, then why would you bother keeping him there? When it's pretty fucking obvious that he doesn't want to drive for you anymore. You know what I mean? Fucking stupid shit, man. What do you want, sissy? Around? Mama sissy. Want some attention while I'm in the middle of trying to do a review. Say hi to the camera. Say hi to the camera. Don't rub your face against the camera. Don't put your ass in the camera. Butthead. What do you want? Oh, mama sissy. Alright, watch out. Come on, sissy, go lay down. Come on, down. Alright, moving on. Kurt Busch has not been cleared for the second straight week. So, Kurt Busch released this statement on July the 27th. After undergoing further medical evaluation this week, I have not been cleared to race Indy at this time. I remain dedicated to focusing on my recovery and getting back on the track, and will continue to work closely with NASCAR's medical team and my own team of doctors. I'm thankful to 2311 and my sponsors for supporting me and also putting my health first, and to Ty for stepping in to race the number 45 Monster Energy Toyota Camry TRD. I am proud of his debut and know he will represent the 45 well again this week. And this obviously has a lot of people very concerned that this whole concussion deal might lead to an early retirement for Kurt Busch. much like it did for Dale Jr. back in 2017. Because remember, he suffered a concussion in 2016, which eventually led to him missing half of the 2016 season. So that's obviously the concern here for Kurt Busch, because obviously you don't want to suffer. I mean, it's unknown how many concussions that he suffered in his career, and let's not forget that concussions are basically brain injuries. And each time you suffer a concussion, your brain takes another damaging blow. And the last thing that you want is to start suffering from CRT, I think it's called, which is particularly dangerous because it can cause like shifts in personality, cause people who suffer from it to become violent, and all that other shit. And obviously that's the last thing we want with Kurt Busch. So certainly wish him the best on his recovery efforts. And he has missed 2 races in a row, but because he has not been cleared by the medical team, NASCAR is still giving him a medical waiver to return to the track when he is cleared. In the Truck Series, Camping World is ending their sponsorship of the Truck Series after 14 years. So Marcus Lemonis issued a statement. What an amazing opportunity it's been. 14 years, over 30 race entitlements, over 35 drivers sponsored, and some of the best fans one could wish for. Thank you, NASCAR. Marketing and sponsorships continue to build and expand our Camping World business, but it's the people that work in the business every day that make it grow, go, and grow. And acknowledging what matters most, our people, we have made the decision to reallocate those marketing dollars towards increasing the income and benefits of our people. From my perspective, there's no better money spent. Marcus, NASCAR fan for life. Now, obviously, NASCAR has known about this for a while, and they've actually been in talks with several sponsors about, taking over title sponsorship of the Truck Series. One name that was floated out that was a potential replacement, Craftsman. Yes, that Craftsman that sponsored the Truck Series for so many years before Camping World came along. Return of the Craftsman Truck Series? That could be interesting. A bit of F1 news. Sebastian Vettel announced that he was going to be retiring from Formula One at the end of this season. Today is not about saying goodbye, it's about saying thank you to everyone, not least to the fans, without whose passionate support F1 could not exist. Of course, he's had a Hall of Fame worthy career, 4 world championships, I think all in a row, 53 race wins, and 122 career podiums. Certainly a top 10 driver of all time, at least in my opinion, and quite the personality in Formula One. Sad to see him go, but obviously feels like it's the time, and sometimes when it's your time, it's your time. So he's decided to call it a career, and what a career it's been. So congratulations to Sebastian Vettel on a terrific Formula One career. Next up, a bit of an oddity before practice in Indianapolis this week. The number 24 team's hauler's generator apparently caught fire. I don't know if it was like a short or something like that. The team unloaded the car, and thankfully it was okay. But just to give you an idea of how bad this was, let's turn on display capture. This was the aftermath of the fire. But thankfully, as you can see, the car was okay. They unloaded it, prepped it, and was able to participate in the race with it this weekend. But pretty crazy, to say the least. Next up, Chicago may be having second thoughts about their street race. because well, I said that because the NASCAR race will tie up all of Grant Park, which is where the race is taking place, all of it, for 2 weeks. Yeah. And City Hall is now conceding the next summer's planned NASCAR race in downtown Chicago will have a bigger, longer impact than previously disclosed. One that will effectively tie up the city's premier park for 2 full weeks. So this was on ChicagoBusiness.com, and they were talking about the NASCAR race. So we're gonna go over this here. All right. So. Oh. Well, that's about stupid. To continue reading, read the full story and other breaking news by subscribing today. I'm not fucking subscribing for one story. God damn it. So. Yeah, the NASCAR race through downtown Chicago will close Grant Park and surrounding streets for 14 days from June the 22nd to July the 5th. And they also, apparently they're going to get $500,000 from NASCAR plus a certain percentage of ticket sales and shit like that. And they also noted that Lollapalooza, who rents the same park, pays like $7 million to use it. So NASCAR is getting quite the bargain, and I think the state of Chicago, you know, maybe having a bit of maybe buyer's remorse, maybe a little bit here. I don't know, but it's already being advertised though on, you know, NASCAR commercials and all that stuff. So I mean, taking it back now would not exactly look good for NASCAR or the city of Chicago. So yeah. I think you kind of have to bite the bullet on this, and plus it's a 3-year deal, so kind of stuck in that contract now. So there's that. Next up, NASCAR will remain on the Indianapolis road course in 2023. I think much to the chagrin of some people who I think were wanting to see NASCAR return to the oval, at least, you know, once, to see how it would do, see how this new car would run on the oval. Because Roger Penske says that NASCAR will remain on the International Motor Speedway road course for 2023, but is evaluating whether to switch to the oval in 2024. He mentions alternating years between the road course and oval is one option under consideration. That's an idea that's been floating around for a couple years now. So, I mean, I think that would be a good idea. I mean, have one on the oval, and then next year on the road course, then kind of alternate back and forth to kind of keep it fresh. Because let's be honest here, even with the controversial shit from the last 2 years, the Indianapolis road course races have been a major talking point. Something that you can't really say about the oval races the past 10 years. So there's that. And then finally, Eric Jones has signed a deal to remain in the number 43 Petty GMS car for 2023. At least for 2023. Don't know if they've signed a deal that is a little bit longer than that. So let's see. This is on the PettyGMS.com website. Eric Jones to remain in the number 43 Chevy with Petty GMS. It's a multi-year agreement. Okay. So they announced today that team and Eric Jones have agreed to a multi-year agreement for Jones to remain in the number 43 Chevy Camaro starting with the 2023 season. Of course, he joined what was at the time Richard Petty Motorsports in 2021 and has continued driving for them. And then GMS Racing and RPM merged at the start of the 2022 season and became a two-car operation. Jones is in his 7th season in Cup. He has 2 wins. He's had 7 top 10s this season. But apparently he has signed a multi-year deal. So I don't know how many years exactly that is, but usually when they say multi-year, it's at least 2 years. So good on Eric Jones. He's done a decent job in that 43 car, and he's going to remain on board with the number 43 for several more years to come. So, hey, good on him. Still got a ride in the Cup Series, and it's a decent ride. I mean, it's not top tier, but it's decent. And at the end of the day, that's still not bad, all things considered. Well, that's it for the news of the week this week. So, without further ado, what do you say we go ahead and get into this race review? Only got about 2.5 pages of notes, mainly because this was a super short race. So let's go ahead and get into this here. Alright, it is the Verizon 200 at the Brickyard, 200-mile race, very short race in the Cup Series. This is episode number 148, title of the episode, 3-Ring Circus, because that's basically what this race was. Well, mainly the end of the race. But we'll get into that here in a minute. So, stages broke down like this. Stage 1 was 15 laps, Stage 2 was 20 laps, and Stage 3 was 47 laps. So let's go ahead and get into it. Stage 1, 15 laps, very short stage. Tyler Reddick starts from the pole. 2 cars had to go to the rear of the field. The Tenor Balmoral for an engine change, and Cody Ware for car repairs. So we start from the pole. Tyler Reddick starts from the pole, and this was kind of the common theme all race long on restarts. Basically 5 wide going into turn 1. In times they were going 6 and 7 wide, which is absolutely fucking insanity. It doesn't work as Justin Haley gets spun, the first of many in this race. Reddick leads lap 1. Cindric and Briscoe fight hard for second as Chastain spins in turn 1. As the 23 and 17 make contact, sending the 17 into the 1 and causing Chastain to get spun out. Now, this might have actually led to the 17 car catching on fire on pit road, probably from the absorption foam getting lit aflame, because they're speculating that the contact from the 23 may have damaged the exhaust pipe to the point where it may have gotten turned up into the absorption foam, and that's what caused it to light it ablaze. I mean, it's speculation at this point. They're probably going to take a look at it. But basically, there was a rule where if Buescher got out of the car at that point, NASCAR wouldn't have allowed him to continue. He would have just had to retire from the race right there. So he basically had to sit in that car while it was on fire, and they were spraying a fire extinguisher in there to put it out, and then they had to blow all that shit out of the car while he was still sitting in the car. I mean, it's like, absolute fucking nonsense from NASCAR. I mean, what a fucking stupid rule. I mean, honestly, the whole damaged vehicle policy rule is just fucking dumb. I mean, a lot of NASCAR's rules, honestly, are fucking dumb, and they need to axe a lot of them because it's just fucking nonsense. I mean, what a way to force a driver to basically risk his health, just to be able to continue running in the race. I mean, to Chris Buescher's credit, I think he did finish in the top 10, which is absolute insanity considering that he was on fire at this point in the race. But, yeah, it's just fucking stupid that NASCAR would force a driver to make that decision at that point. Unacceptable. So, at the same time, Denny Hamlin's car snaps around on him coming down the backstretch. He got into the grass a little bit, thought he had it saved, and then it just snapped around on him. His car was really loose at the beginning of the race, as it turns out. Bell was now challenging Briscoe for third. Hamlin was really struggling as he missed turn 1. He had to go down the access road. Didn't have to stop and was not penalized for it. Chastain locks the front tires up and gets into Joey Hand in turn 1, while Kez locks up and spins in the same turn. So obviously turn 1 was Calamity Corner in this race. Chastain was the first to pit road on lap 11, and he also had to repair some damage. And this was, of course, when Chris Buescher came down pit road on fire. Reddick pits from the lead on lap 14. Chase Briscoe stays out and wins stage number 1. Chase Elliott also spun in turn 1 after brake lockup right before the end of the stage. Those that didn't pit under green would come in under the stage break with the exception of several cars. Alright, so now we come to stage 2, which was 20 laps. Ryan Blaney stays out and leads to start stage 2. William Byron, Brad Keselowski, and Corey LaJoie also stayed out under this restart. And they basically showed that track position was key here. I mean, because they were on old tires and they were able to maintain their track position. Again, they try to go 5 wide into turn 1, and this time Harvick is the one that spun out in the mess. Cindric gets by Keselowski for 3rd. Alex Bowman with a flat left front tire. Makes it back to pit road though. Blaney nearly locks it up going into turn 1 but hangs on. Kyle Larson was on pit road with massive right front damage after Almirola completely blows turn 1 and slams into him. There were a lot of drivers that were complaining about brake issues during this race, and that might have had something to do with it. And there was a scary incident that happened with Kyle Larson later on in this race that we'll talk about here in a minute. Reddick gets by Cindric for 3rd. A.G. Allmendinger gets off into the sand going into turn 4, and Harrison Burton and Cole Custer spin in turn 1 after Burton locks up and spins into Custer. And I'm just kind of like, what the fuck is this race right now? Byron tries to challenge Blaney for the lead as the 12 continues to struggle. Byron finally pits from the lead on lap 31. Pit stops were beginning in mass on lap 32, right before the caution was coming up for the stage break. Ryan Blaney finally pits from the lead on lap 34. Reddick follows him in. Christopher Bell stays out and wins stage number 2. And those who didn't pit under green would pit under this stage break. So we get through the first half of the race without any caution flags at this point. And as we keep going through the run here in stage 3, I'm thinking, man, they could actually go caution free here, which I would not have been opposed to whatsoever. So now we come to stage 3, which was 47 laps. Bell leads the start of stage 3. We were 3 and 4 wide once again, but this time there were no spins. A little bit of beating and banging, but at least they kept it straight at this time. Bell ended up with a 1.4 second lead after just 1 lap on the restart. He had a pretty good car at this point. There were lots of battling in the bottom half of the top 10. Keselowski spins in turn 7. They didn't really show what exactly happened to him. Reddick gets by Briscoe for 3rd and then by Wallace for 2nd. Obviously, you know, Reddick had the best car in this race. Blaney and Byron get by Wallace for 3rd and 4th. Reddick starts closing in on Bell for the lead. The 20 was probably going to be pitting in the next few laps because pit strategy. But Reddick was able to get around him, and we had our one and only pure lead change on lap 50. So that's back-to-back weeks where we've only had 1 pure lead change during the race. A little bit hard to come by right now. Several cars come in for their final scheduled stop. Reddick and Bell pit from the top 2 on lap 52. Keselowski spins off turn 6 but gets back going. Blaney pits from the lead on lap 53 and takes just fuel, no tires, which was a very interesting strategy, and it was actually working pretty well. Daniel Kvyat, former Formula 1 driver, had a suspension failure and had to fall out of the race. And just as it was looking like we were going to go caution free, we had our first caution on lap 61, a huge wreck, as it looked as though Kyle Larson lost his brakes going into turn 1 and absolutely clobbers the 42 of Ty Dillon. It was a hard hit. When you saw it at speed, it made you cringe. Like, holy shit. That was a hard hit. And it's obvious that Larson lost his brakes. You know, I mean, imagine if the 42 wasn't there and Larson just went straight through that turn and maybe even hit one of those barriers right there. Like, that's a scary thought. But thankfully both drivers were okay. Reddick leads on the restart. Blaney with a great restart to move up to second on older tires, by the way. A.J. Allmendinger and Christopher Bell were banging doors for the third position. Elliott and Byron get by for fourth and fifth, and Bell drops back to about seventh, but he was able to rebound and start moving forward again. Bowman and Harvick wreck in the infield section, look like in turns 8 and 9. They get back going again, but both would have to fall from the race. Don't really know what the hell happened there. Elliott gets by Allmendinger for third. Cole Custer spins off turn 6 down the back stretch, but straightens it back out. It was actually a nice bit of car control right there. Elliott outbreaks Blaney into turn 1 for second, and we had the rematch from Road America. Tyler Reddick versus Chase Elliott. Of course, the two had their battle at Road America with Reddick coming out on top. And I was like, Road America rematch? Well, we would get it. Although, at this point, I was hoping the race would have gone green to kind of prevent any, stupid shenanigan bullshit that a green-white checkered would cause. Unfortunately, we had our second caution on lap 76 when Christopher Bell blows the right front tire, which blew the right front fender off this car and onto the front stretch. And I was like, well, my fears came true with these final restarts. Reddick leads on the restart with 3 laps to go, and this is when all hell breaks loose. Several cars spin from turn 1 to turn 4. Chase Elliott got punted in turn 2. He backs into William Byron, who gets spun. Kyle Busch got spun. Chase Briscoe got spun. Eric Jones actually spun himself out in the grass going into turn 4. And this led to Austin Dillon getting spun out, and he got stuck in the gravel trap, which resulted in the caution coming out on lap number 80 in order to get him out. And so we're going to a green-white checker, and I'm thinking, fuck. Something stupid's going to happen here, isn't it? And it did. Reddick leads on the first green-white checkered. Several cars missed the first turn. Well, I said several cars missed the first turn, but Chastain took the access road, and Blaney gets spun out off the nose of Daniel Hemrick, who actually got a push from Austin Cindric into Ryan Blaney, and then Blaney decided to wreck Chastain after, or not Chastain, but Suarez afterwards, and basically threw a fucking hissy fit. And it's just like, see, this has just been my point the last couple weeks. Bunch of fucking prima donnas. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, man. Then we had several cars battling for the win at this point between Reddick, Chastain, and Cindric. And it was at this point that Chastain's position was uncertain as he used the access road. Whether or not that was legal was up for debate, and NASCAR decided to wait until after the checkered flag to make their decision. But in the meantime, Reddick held Chastain and Cindric at bay to score his second win of the season and second of his career at Indianapolis. And eventually they did penalize Chastain for using the access road, so he goes from finishing second to finishing 27th. And this has started a whole fucking firestorm on social media, as shit like this usually does. And we have yet another civil war going on amongst the fan base, NASCAR pundits, beat reporters, that old fucking shit. So, second week in a row, we've had a very controversial race. Camo, what do you want? Come on, Camo, go lay down. Come on. And that was your review of the Verizon 200 at the Brickyard. Very controversial ending. So, stats and awards. Total laps. It was an 82-lap race. It got extended to 87 laps with the green-white checkered. Stages broke down 15, 20, and 47. Overall lead changes, only 9. 9 lead changes overall, and 1 pure lead change during the race. I hope to God Michigan next week gives us a higher number than that, because the number of pure lead changes recently has been kind of dry, and I'm not counting Atlanta because that's a given the super speedway nature of that track now. I'm talking about with some of the other races. Pure lead changes have been very dry in recent weeks. Only 3 cautions this time, which isn't bad. And we actually had 3,254 green flag passes in this race, which actually comes out to a 45.8 average for green flag laps. That's not bad. Lap leader award goes to Tyler Reddick. He led 38 of the race's 82 laps. Started from pole, led the most laps, won the race. That's about all you could say. Star of the race. It was initially going to be Ryan Blaney until he decided to act like a total fucking derp after the race. So instead, I'm actually going to give this award to 2 drivers because they managed to score their first ever top 5 finishes in the Cup Series. Harrison Burton and Todd Gilliland. Harrison Burton finished 3rd in this race, and Todd Gilliland finished 4th, their first ever top 5 finishes. May have been with a little bit of luck. I mean, where do you see this top 10 running order at the end of this race? Like, all of the front runners are basically nowhere to be found. Like, it's insanity. But congratulations to Harrison Burton and Todd Gilliland. They've had a terrible rookie season this year, but they both get a top 5 finish, mainly through shenanigans, but you know, it is what it is. They managed to get top 5 finishes nonetheless. Reject of the race goes to NASCAR, because how in the flying fuck, I mean, do you fuck up access road rules that badly? Obviously, they didn't think that anybody would use that access road to try to gain an advantage. Otherwise, they would have made the access road a little bit more difficult to navigate through, which is what they should have done in the first place. So, they made themselves look like total fucking ass clowns by not properly addressing that. But, what the fuck else do you expect from NASCAR at this point? They love, you know, half-assing shit, and it leads to fucking bullshit moments like this. So, it really shouldn't be that much of a surprise at this point. Race results and point standings after the Verizon 200 at the Brickyard. Here's the race results. This is what I'm talking about with this top 10. You have Tyler Reddick, of course. I mean, he's become a pretty top-notch driver. But then you have Austin Cindric in second. Hasn't really had much of a season since winning the Daytona 500. Harrison Burton with a 3rd place finish. Todd Gilliland with a 4th place finish. Bubba Wallace with yet another top 5 run. He's starting to finally figure it out. Joey Logano in 6th. By the way, Joey Logano, what a fucking Nimrod he is too. I mean, on that next to last restart, he decided to go 5 wide up the inside and basically started, you know, doing bumper car bullshit with a lot of the cars on his left side. And it's just like Joey Logano is a fucking tard. Like, you know, but he's allowed to do that, but if you do it to him, you know, you're an asshole. Fuck you, Logano. Seriously. A.J. Allmendinger finished 7th, but afterwards, he basically stumbled out of his car. Probably from, I would say he probably had heat exhaustion, because it was super hot inside his car. His cool suit had failed, and it was a very warm day, and we could see it before the last restart. He was kind of having his head leaning to the side a little bit, so he was exhausted. So I would imagine that he was probably suffering from a little bit of heat illness, maybe even the beginning stages of heat exhaustion, which I've actually had before, and that's not a fun experience. Once he was out of there, they were to him. They were giving him water, ice packs, you know, the whole 9 yards. Went to the infield medical center to make sure that he was okay. Basically just had to cool down, get some fluids in him, and he was okay afterwards, so good to know. You had Michael McDowell, Cole Custer, and Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher, who was on fire at the beginning of this race, comes back for a top 10 finish. The craziness of road course racing. Now let's look at the point standings, which is the playoff standings after the Indianapolis road course. And this is how fucking stupid the win and you're in format is. You see Ryan Blaney, 15th in the standings. Plus 121 on the cutoff line, which is good. Here's the thing. He may not have a single win yet this year, but he's second in the overall standings right now. If you take out all the winning you're in bullshit, he's running second in points. Martin Truex Jr. is, I think, fourth in points overall. And both of these guys might not even be eligible to race for the championship. How fucking corny is that, man? It really is. NASCAR just needs to get rid of this stupid fucking playoff format. But anyways, Chase Elliott has 4 wins. His top 2 streak got broken. It looked like he was actually going to get his 6th, but then shenanigans happened. You have Chastain, William Byron, Joey Logano. Tyler Reddick picks up his 2nd win of the year and has vaulted to number 5 in the standings with 12 playoff points. And you have Denny Hamlin. The rest of the drivers with at least 1 win is Kyle Larson, Chase Briscoe, Daniel Suarez, Kurt Busch, Christopher Bell, Kyle Busch, Alex Bowman, and Austin Cindric. And then you have Ryan Blaney, highest of the non-winners, with 121 up on the cut line, and Martin Truex Jr. is 96 up on the cut line. So basically, anybody below that cut line, it's basically a must-win situation at this point. So you have Harvick, 96 points out, Eric Almirola, Eric Jones, and Bubba Wallace. It's basically a must-win at this point for those guys. NASCAR standings with F1 points. First up, the Truck Series, which was a little bit wacky. We almost saw a huge upset when Taylor Gray in the 17 car nearly won the race, but got screwed by John Hunter Nemechek because John Hunter Nemechek's a fucking rod. So Zane Smith actually gains a little bit on John Hunter Nemechek. He actually wasn't looking that good early on, but recovered to finish 3rd. So he has a 41-point advantage over John Hunter Nemechek. Chandler Smith and Ben Rhodes, who finished 2nd. Nice of you to come back, Ben Rhodes. Finally woke up. This is his first top 5 finish since race 6, when he won last. That's how much of a drought this guy has been in. But he's tied for 3rd. Then you have Ty Majeski. Christian Eckes didn't score a single point. Stuart Friesen, Carson Hocevar, who was a bit of a dumb shit, right rear hooking someone who got into him. Not a good look at all. Yeah, Grant Enfinger, who ended up winning the race, his first win in 2 years. And Corey Heim in the top 10. Again, when is he getting a full-time ride? Then you have Ryan Preece and Parker Kligerman, the only drivers over 100 points at this point. Xfinity points. The championship lead has changed again. Justin Allgaier has retaken the point lead with 341 points. Ty Gibbs drops back to 2nd with 333. A.J. Allmendinger ended up winning the Xfinity race at the Indianapolis Road Course. So he leapfrogs all the way back up to 3rd. So he's once again a championship contender in the F1 standings. Noah Gragson drops to 4th. Josh Berry is still 5th. Still kind of within striking distance, but he's 50 points out now. Then it's a pretty big gap back to Austin Hill with 211. You have Sam Mayer, Brandon Jones, Riley Herbst, Daniel Hemrick, and Trevor Bayne, the only drivers over 100 points at this point in time. Cup points. A lot of the front runners had a lot of trouble this week and didn't score very many points. But Chase Elliott continues to lead the way. He has a 42-point advantage over Chase Elliott. That's a bit of a gap back to Kyle Larson. And you have Ryan Blaney, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano. Tyler Reddick moves up big time, now up to 7th in the points at 202. Then you have Christopher Bell, William Byron, and Martin Truex Jr. rounding out the top 10. Rest of the drivers with at least 100 points is Kurt Busch, Daniel Suarez, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, Alex Bowman, Chase Briscoe, and Austin Cindric. As for my final rating for the Verizon 200 at the Brickyard, I mean, it kind of sucks that we had all the controversial bullshit that we did at the end of this race, because the fact of the matter is, the race wasn't terrible. It wasn't great either, but it wasn't that bad of a race, really. I mean, it just sucks that the controversy at the end of it kind of takes away from it, because that's really all anybody's going to be talking about at this point. So, much like last week, I'm going to go on my Bret Hart shit and give it a 4 on the fuel gauge. it could have been better. It really could have. I mean, what we saw tonight was not really good racing. I'm just gonna be completely honest here. It's just a lot of drivers being a bunch of fucking nimrods. I mean, you guys are better than that. Clean your fucking shit up, because this is embarrassing. The type of racing that we're seeing right now is fucking embarrassing. Clean your fucking shit up. Seriously. But anywho, that's going to do it for tonight. We have 4 races remaining before the playoffs begin. Final race for the month of July. We are now heading into August. We have August, September, October, and November. Fast approaching the end of yet another NASCAR season. 14 races remain before we crown the next Cup Series champion. Who will that be? I don't fucking know. Especially with this stupid ass playoff format. But as always, thank you very much for watching. And until next time, this is the Packer Man signing out. See you later. Thank you for watching tonight's video. Be sure to like and subscribe, you jackweeds.